Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to Ocugen presentation. Forward-looking statement. We at Ocugen are impacting lives through courageous innovation. We focus on diseases that have significant unmet medical needs. We work through with purpose and agility to find solutions for these patients. And we want to be a ray of hope for these patients who are struggling with debilitating diseases globally. So we have a strong pipeline starting with our what we believe is a breakthrough modifier gene therapy platform. I'm going to talk more about it during the presentation. This platform, this is already in the clinical trial, the first product that's targeting, that has potential to target many rare diseases, blindness diseases. And there is another product in the platform which is going to target a big disease burden which can affect millions today in US and across the globe with no approved therapies available. And we have a COVID-19 vaccine under development, and we want to contribute to controlling this pandemic with that vaccine. And again, in a nutshell, we are really committed as a company. Through our courageous innovation, we are willing to take risks to find solutions for patients for debilitating diseases, and we'll always continue to grow our vaccines group to contribute to public health. That will always be in our agenda going into the future. So now this is a snapshot of our pipeline where we are starting with our vaccine, Covaxin. It's a whole inactivated viral vaccine. Currently, we recently acquired rights for Mexico. They already have emergency use authorization for adults, and the pediatric use 2 to 18 is going under review. And we are planning to commercialize this year in Mexico. And in US, we initiated phase 2-3 clinical trials. It's on a temporary pause. We're going to work closely working with FDA. We'll get out of that and we'd like to continue the trials. And we do need additional safety trial in the US demographic to meet the requirements for BLA. And we'll continue to support that. We want to bring this needed vaccine in the US. In a bit, I'm going to tell you why you need this in US too, even though you have other vaccines available. And currently in Canada, it's going through new drug submission review process. That's what is going on at high level. Modifier gene therapy platform. The first product, OCU400, is currently in clinical trials, targeting 2 mutations, NR2E3 and CEP290. We have recently announced the first patient got dosed, and it's going well. I'm going to talk more about this platform, power of this platform, how much of potential it has to impact lives globally. And the second product in the program is OCU410, which is based on the RORA gene. It's targeting dry age-related macular degeneration. There are about 9 to 10 million patients in US alone struggle with this disease. Currently, there are no approved therapies. More than 100 million globally struggle with this. And so this is a very complex disease. That's why there are no approved therapies. We believe this product, OCU410, has potential to treat these patients. Imagine the power of the gene therapy platform, potentially with a single injection. And so that's what we're working on. We're very excited about it. We have a roadmap we agreed on with FDA. We are currently executing those, such as toxicology studies, GMP manufacturing, and when we are ready by next year, we'll put that program into the clinic. And the next one is a novel biologic, OCU200. It's a fusion protein, tumstatin transferrin. This has a distinct mechanism of action compared to currently available anti-VEGF therapies, such as Eylea. And this is also a huge population and disease burden in the US. Even though the current therapies are available, about 50% are non-responders to existing therapies. That means you got about 7 to 8 million population between diabetic macular edema, diabetic retinopathy, and wet age-related macular degeneration. And so if the significant amount of the population is non-responders, they're looking for new therapies. And we believe this could be a disease-modifying drug. And again, we have a good roadmap with FDA on this. We're currently executing those preclinical IND enabling studies such as toxicology and GMP manufacturing. And this program, we're planning to put this in clinic next year. So now I'm going to spend more time on our key programs, starting with Covaxin. So Covaxin is based on the whole virion inactivated virus vaccine. That means you take the whole virus, you inactivate it, then you add adjuvants, aluminum, IMDG. Aluminum is also present in two other inactivated viral vaccines, which are listed in WHO emergency use authorization listing. And however, this vaccine we believe is superior because it has got additional adjuvant IMDG, which was co-developed at NIH by a US company. Then it was licensed to our partners in India, Bharat Biotech. So that IMDG elicits Th1 response, which is a T cell response, which is a memory, which is very important for vaccines to get the durability. And the target population is 2+. We have data to support pediatric populations 2 to 18, 18 to 65 and 65+. And it's the same product, no change. It's a 6 microgram dose used across the population. We have good immunogenicity data in pediatric population. And it's presented as a 10-dose vial. So it's easier to produce in large quantities. And the expected shelf life is 2 years at refrigerated conditions, unlike some other vaccines we have here in the US. And it has a 25-degree shelf life for 6 months. And that means it's easy to transport, store. Even this pandemic, if we get control, it becomes an endemic. I mean, we think it'll be there for next 3 to 5 years. And even you go into control in certain areas, there may be breakouts. If somebody wants to stockpile, this would be ideal vaccine to stockpile because of the storage conditions. So I get this question all the time: why Covaxin? When you have so many hundreds of millions of doses of vaccines available, in US, why? Because there is actually a news report which is published by CDC. It's a newsletter and just came out in last 2 weeks. So there is a data, survey, independent survey. They published it, and according to them, 73% of Americans are looking for options. I mean, majority of the vaccines available are based on mRNA, one type of technology. So people are looking for options, and options, the vaccines produced using traditional, platforms such as using polio vaccine we're all related to. Everybody took polio shots and flu vaccines. And so they have a long-term track record if the same platform with safety. So they're looking for that. And they're also looking for vaccines. About 75% of them said they'll take the booster shots if it's like every 6 months or later. That means they don't want booster shots every 3 months. So they're looking for durability. 72% said they would like vaccines which are not only working on, variants of concern at this stage, which has potential to work on future variants. That's where Covaxin comes in. It's a whole inactivated viral vaccine. It is not just on spike based like the vaccines we have here. It has got a whole virus, right? So the part of the virus, spike, which is mutating, all the vaccines here are based on that. So that's an issue. If that's mutating, your efficacy is going to go down scientifically. That's exactly what you're seeing in the real world. So if you have a vaccine which covers the whole virus and you elicit immune responses, not only on the spike, but nucleocapsid protein and other parts of the virus. So you develop adaptive immunity. And so this vaccine has shown it's effective. It got a broad immune response, spike, as well as nucleocapsid protein. And so that will help you with the current variants and potential to help with the future variants because you get a broad immune response. Second thing is this vaccine, as I mentioned before, elicits a memory, T cell response. They measured it. There are a lot of publications after 6 months. That means they have a memory. That means it's going to last longer. So ideally, if we become a booster shots everybody requires on an annual basis like flu, that will be ideal, right? And then it's good to have a vaccine which has durability, which works on potential future variants because you don't know what the next variant is going to come from. That's why you need Covaxin. Number two, we have solid data from phase 3 clinical trials in a large population, 26,000. When they conducted the trials, Delta was raging through in India. So in the middle of that, they got, demonstrated good efficacy. And they also have solid safety. They also bridged that data with the pediatric population 2 to 18, and they showed good immune responses in pediatric patients compared to adults, and with the same dose there is no change. So that makes it easier for people to apply the vaccine and push it through during the pandemic without causing any confusion. It's built on a Verocell platform, how today polio vaccine and some of the flu vaccines are made. So people can relate to that. This platform technology, we have been using it. I took the vaccine, so they can relate to. And nothing happened to me after like 5 years, 10 years. I kept on taking it. So that's very important. And again, I talked about storage condition. There's a significant advantage that you can store at refrigerated conditions. How vaccines have been distributed globally for ages in refrigerated conditions in remote villages, even in Africa. You can distribute vaccines under refrigerated conditions, not frozen conditions. And so those are all salient features of the vaccine. So this sums it up, the phase 3 clinical trial data. During the pandemic, in the middle of the Delta, they had overall efficacy of 77.8%. The most important thing is they had 93.4% of severe disease. This is like preventing hospitalization and death. That's very important. And they actually monitored genotyping and Delta variant itself. Majority of the patients are Delta who got infected, when you look at it for efficacy, and that's a 65%. And they had a low 12.4% adverse events. Most of them are resolved within 24 hours. And they had very low amount of serious adverse events. They also had a surveillance data which was public afterwards, that the government actually monitors, just like CDC monitors. After 59 million doses administered, they didn't find any myocarditis, pericarditis, or thrombosis that you see with other vaccines. So it's a good safety surveillance data. And in the pediatric population, same data, they had good immunogenicity. They also didn't see 0 hospitalizations in the pediatric population. They didn't see any myocarditis, pericarditis, or thrombosis, which are very important. And when parents are looking for options, they want to look at the data. You provide options, they can look at the data, they can say, this one has this one has this, and they can consult with their healthcare provider, take the vaccine, which is appropriate for their kids. So more options available, the vaccination rates will go up, you can prevent hospitalization, death. So it's really important. So where are we with this? As I mentioned before, we're going to commercialize in Canada this year because we already have emergency use authorization. The immunobridging trial is needed to bridge US demographic data with the large trial our partners did in India. In addition to that, we need to generate safety data in the US population to bridge that in the demographic, and then large amount of data they generated and all the surveillance. This vaccine has been given to over 350 million doses administered to date. Or 75 million doses administered to teenagers under 18. So there is a good amount of surveillance and real world data, multiple publications published in very renowned journals, because this was developed in collaboration with the equivalent of the NIH. So whatever they generated, it's very transparent. Everything is published in top journals such as Lancet, iScience, and the credible journals. All those references are on our website. And so our goal is to complete this work and get the BLA, so that, because we believe this COVID will continue for next 4 to 5 years, and we want to be part of the solution and providing that arsenal in the US toolkit. Now I'm going to spend a few minutes on our modifier gene therapy platform. This is based on the nuclear genes. So these genes control, they're like master genes in the retina, just like all these gene networks you see. They control all these functional networks, associated gene expressions, and they bring the homeostasis to the retina. So they have ability to modulate many transcription factors and control the disease, and that rescue from blindness. So in this, there is a demonstrating on the left side, there is a traditional gene therapy. You got a mutation, then a gene X is mutated, you give a functioning gene, and then you fix that. But if you want to go into another mutation, you have to start from scratch, spend 8 to 10 years. And if you take something like retinitis pigmentosa, Leber congenital amaurosis, we have broad orphan drug designations from EMA, and we have multiple orphan drug designations in the US. Between those two umbrella diseases, there are 175 mutations. It's impossible for companies to develop 175 products, right? There's only one product approved by Spark Therapeutics. Serves about 1,000 patients or less in the US, one mutation. So that's where the right side comes in. These are modifier genes. They're like master genes in the retina, right? And so what they can do, you give a functioning this modifier gene, and it has ability to control the disease progression and bring the rescue, because it works on the entire functional network and associated gene expressions. It's like a conductor conducting an orchestra, and you have 50 instruments. One of them is not doing well, and you're tuning up on the other side, and you're modulating nicely. You don't feel the difference, right? And resetting the homeostasis, and they have ability to function. And so there is a so that means all these patients waiting in desperation, because many of them can become legally blind by the time they're in mid-40s. So if you go to the top retinal surgeons in this country, there are only 2,500 of them, very smart, and they can do all the analysis, and they cannot do anything with you or your parents. They'll say, oh, how to prepare you for blindness life. Put yourself in the patient's shoes. There are 2 million people struggling globally between RP and LCA. So they're really desperate for rescue. We believe we have potential to offer that rescue. There are 100 to 200,000 patients in US alone struggle with this, similar population in the EU. So there is a publication, Nature publication, which is listed here. It goes through our professor, Nina Hyder, who is an inventor from Harvard Medical School, spent about 20 years, top geneticist, building this technology, which we licensed. This publication goes into 5 different animal models with 5 different, related to human diseases, orphan diseases, and with a single product, same product, given single injection in the beginning, early part of the disease, late stage of the disease, showing a significant rescue with multiple endpoints. And one could ask, if you target like a, almost like a mutation agnostic therapy, will it cause any off-target effects? And this actually publication goes into that, and of healthy animals giving this gene therapy and showing it's safe and effective. So based on that, we worked with the FDA and EMA, and we started clinical trials. We started clinical trials in NR2E3, started clinical trials in rhodopsin. Rhodopsin is not a, we're not replacing rhodopsin mutated gene, right? We're actually applying modifier gene. So that's the first time, this is really, we work closely with the FDA. We're in the clinical trial. We're very excited about it. So our goal is to do like a 3, CEP290 represents Leber congenital amaurosis. That's about 25 mutations. So between rhodopsin and NR2E3, representing RP, 150 mutations, and CEP290, we believe we can cover 175 mutations. We'll work with FDA and EMA with some phase 4 commitments. We believe, this therapy can be used for all these patients who are desperately waiting. So that's a amazing thing we want to continue to work on and bring it to the market in the next few years. So in summary, there's a lot going on at Ocugen, continue to grow as an organization, and Covaxin has multiple targets this year, commercializing in Mexico, completing, initiating, another trial on safety for Covaxin in addition to current trial, finishing off whatever we need for BLA filing. In the interim, if we get interim analysis, we'd like to review that and release it. And OCU400 program is going well. We started with 2 mutations, and these are very small trials, 9 patients each. And then after finishing that 1-year duration, we'll continue to monitor patients on safety, and we're also monitoring them on efficacy with multiple observational endpoints. The primary target is getting the efficacy on these patients, but every 3 months these patients will followed, and whenever we see a signal, we'll provide updates to the market. So stay tuned on that. And we also did an amazing job by scaling the process up for phase 1-2 at a 200-liter scale, making a high-quality product. Gene therapy manufacturing is very complex, and it's very capital intensive. So we have a strategic partnership with a large biotech. We have a lot of expertise and state-of-the-art facilities, and we're able to successfully manufacture this. And that's not an issue for us, unlike other gene therapy companies who struggle to manufacture. And we also expanded the manufacturing agreement to cover our next product, OCU410. So we got an experienced leadership team at Ocugen. Many of us worked in large pharma and really developed many biologicals, vaccines successfully, and took it to the market and managed life cycle. So with that, once again, I want to sum it up. We are committed to unmet medical needs. We are willing to take risks through courageous innovation to find solutions for these patients. We'll continue to improve our vaccine platform, and we'll always try to support the public health agenda through our vaccines. And our gene therapies and cutting edge technology, we would like to contribute to the global health and impact patient lives. Thank you. I'll be happy to take any questions at this stage.
What is your cash position, and do you plan on raising any capital anytime soon?
Yeah, based on our 10K we released, we also raised additional cash at that time, which was there in the subsequent notes with our 10K filing. That actually will take us into way into the first quarter of next year. And as a public company, we'll always evaluate, because we have a strong pipeline, and our goal is to support our programs to make sure we have enough growth in the company. So we got multiple targets, not just focusing on one program. We got vaccines, we got gene therapies, and we'll be very cognizant and diligently, whenever there is a necessity, we'll continue to raise the capital ahead of time so that company is well financed to support all the programs. Yeah, good question. I mean, right now, just like in US, Mexico too, most of the governments, it's all through government procurement, and we're working with them. I mean, in our press release we noted we're already working with their ministry and for the procurement right now. I mean, we just got the rights, we announced it, and so we're actively already working with the Mexican government. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
At one time or another, you issued a letter of intent to purchase a Canadian manufacturing facility.
Yes.
Can you give us an update?
Yes. Yeah, this is a letter of intent we signed to purchase this facility, which was built, and it was nice. And when you make this vaccine, you need it's a live virus first you have to make, right? You need BSL-3 facilities, and there are very few facilities actually in North America that are available to make such vaccines. And this is like a traditional technology. Every pandemic comes and this technology works. So it's unfortunate we don't have capacity, including US. So that's the reason we looked into that, and with some upgrades we can actually fit this facility for vaccine. And our goal is to utilize that facility not just for vaccines and create our biotech platform like a base, center for excellence for manufacturing for global supply into the future. So we're currently working on it to secure funding and other plans so that we can actually that facility can become a reality and not only produce the vaccine for current global needs, but also contribute to pandemic in the future and also produce our biotech products. Any other questions? Thank you for having me. Thank you.